Hello, my name is Darian Travis, and today I'll be speaking about the current cyclosporiasis outbreak linked to the Del Monte vegetable trace. The investigation began around the end of May to the beginning of June of this year, and on June 15, 2018, the CDC and FDA informed the public of an ongoing investigation for a multi-state cyclosporiasis outbreak. At that time, 78 laboratory-confirmed cases have been reported in 4 states: Iowa, Indiana, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Individuals affected reported consuming prepackaged Del Monte fresh produce vegetable trays with broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, and dill dip included. Over the course of a month, this number increased to 237 laboratory-confirmed cases with 7 hospitalizations and no deaths. So what is cyclosporiasis? Cyclosporiasis is an intestinal illness caused by the parasite Cyclospora. It is spread through contaminated food and water and not transmitted directly from person to person due to the long time frame between when the organism is passed and when it becomes infectious. The United States has seen an increase in the incidence of cyclosporiasis during the summer months since a large outbreak occurred in 2013. Almost all of the cyclospora outbreaks from the last 20 years have been traced back to food products and associated with produce contaminated with oocysts. Oocysts are the cyst form of cyclospora that contain the parasite. Once a person is exposed to cyclospora oocysts, it takes about 1 week to develop symptoms. The most common of these symptoms is frequent, watery diarrhea that can be explosive. Stomach pain, loss of appetite, nausea, fatigue, and flu-like symptoms can also occur. Some people who are infected do not ever have symptoms, and if not treated, this illness can last between days to a month or longer. Cyclospora is found worldwide and is endemic in tropical and subtropical regions. In the United States, the baseline for this organism is very low, as it is typically seen in outbreaks when found in North America. This outbreak is unique when looking at the type of food associated. Most cyclospora outbreaks have been linked to berries or leafy greens, not fresh-cut broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, or celery. Since this is a reportable disease, when a spike in cases began to be reported, the CDC and local health departments began investigating the cause. Cyclosporiasis is a nationally notifiable disease. It is reportable in 43 states and the District of Columbia. Every single case of cyclosporiasis should be reported. So when a specimen comes into the laboratory and oocysts are found on the stool sample, a laboratory technologist should fill out a form and either fax or call their local health department to report that they have a confirmed case of cyclosporiasis. In some hospitals, this could be considered a critical result as well and must be called to the physician to inform them. The CDC works with public health officials around the country to analyze each reported case and determine any connections that may exist. This is to aid in the identification and investigation of outbreaks, since there are currently no valid molecular tools available to link cyclospora cases together. The CDC stresses that it is important for the public and clinicians to inform their local health department about potential cases and clusters of this disease so that the appropriate actions can be taken, even if they are not located in states that require reporting. Cyclosporiasis is confirmed by examination of stool specimens. This is done in the microbiology section of a clinical laboratory, where a scientist looks for cyclospora oocysts in the stool. Because this organism is not always shed in the stool, patients may be asked to provide several specimens collected on different days. This increases the likelihood of finding the oocyst and making a definitive identification. This testing is called an ovocyst and parasite, or OCP. It requires a preparation of specimen to be viewed and examined under the microscope. This is a picture of a cyclospora oocyst under a routine prep in a laboratory. The scale at the left shows you just how small these oocysts can be, as this one tends to be only about 10 micrometers. When looking at OCPs and identifying organisms, the size, internal structures, and morphology must be heavily considered. In this picture, the sporozoites can be seen inside of the oocysts, which is the definitive characteristic of Cyclospora. They are membrane-bound structures and can be seen when focusing in and out under the microscope. Orders for an OCP are not routinely performed, so healthcare providers must ask for this testing specifically when investigating a possible Cyclospora case. Currently, there is no reliable genotyping available to connect Cyclospora cases, which has hindered outbreak investigations and contamination tracking. In 2016, a study was conducted to evaluate the effectiveness of multi-locus sequence typing tools for Cyclospora. While the genome was able to be sequenced, there was a large amount of genetic recombination present. This variation makes it improbable to use a single marker in tracking Cyclospora cases and contamination. There were also many overlapping signals read, leading to less information on specific loci. Similar to the previous widespread Cyclospora outbreaks, this was a case control study as there was not a well-defined population falling ill with cyclosporiasis. The case patients were spread over a wide geographic region and not directly linked to one another. The study population being investigated currently includes individuals who have purchased Del Monte vegetable trays in the areas affected. The cyclosporiasis case definition outlined in 2010 by the CDC states that a confirmed case meets the clinical description of cyclosporiasis and has been confirmed by the laboratory. Stricter criteria can also be implemented, such as a date range or a place where the contaminated vegetables were purchased, as seen in the 2017 Mediterranean restaurant outbreak. The current outbreak has used the date range provided by the Best If Enjoyed By label on the Del Monte vegetable trays. This date is June 17, 2018 or earlier. When looking at the commonalities between all case patients, the link was determined to be the Del Monte 6 to 28 ounce vegetable trays that were sold by Quick Trip and Quick Start convenience stores. However, the investigation is ongoing, so there have been no calculations or odds ratios available at this time. However, if the control and sample group information was made available, a 2x2 contingency table could be utilized to find the odds ratio and the incidence. The CDC provides a case count map and an epi curve to the public for monitoring and information purposes. This case counts map demonstrates how many cases were in each state that has been recorded with cyclosporiasis outbreak this year. As you can see, Wisconsin has the largest cluster of cyclosporiasis cases since the last update on June 19th. The EpiCurve shows that the first case of cyclosporiasis was documented on May 14th. From this point, there was a slow increase in cases until around May 28th, where there was a large spike before topping out on June 1st. Then a sharp decline is followed, with only a few cases being reported after June 10th. Del Monte has voluntarily recalled all 6 and 12 ounce vegetable trays to prevent any further spread of this outbreak. This occurred on June 8th. However, the highest number of reported cases occurred on June 1st, so this recall was 7 days after the peak of this outbreak. This recall was later expanded to the 28 ounce trays on June 15th, when the CDC and FDA announcements were made. None of these trays are currently available for purchase, presumably until they can determine the source of contamination. Current vegetable production practices do not sufficiently remove or inactivate pathogens like Cyclospora and can lead to incidents like this and others. Long-term control methods will most likely involve better production and supply chain practices, including hand washing. Cyclosporiasis is treated with the antibiotic trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole, commonly known as Bactrim. Supportive therapy in the form of fluids help with rehydration for individuals who have become dehydrated due to the severe diarrhea associated with cyclosporiasis. One point of interest that I find to be particularly interesting with this outbreak is the fact that the FDA and the CDC still have not discovered what is causing the outbreak. Each component of the Del Monte vegetable tray is still being looked at individually to determine what could be the carrier for the Cyclospora oocysts. This investigation seemed quite accurate in pinpointing the contaminated food items. The questionnaire for a Cyclospora outbreak is very thorough and covers a variety of foods that have been or could be connected to the organism. In fact, the 2 cases reported in Michigan were traced back to a vegetable tray purchased in Wisconsin. This lookback shows how seriously the CDC and FDA took this outbreak and ensured the accuracy of any implicated items. With this outbreak being the second this year for Cyclospora, hopefully there will be another push for new techniques to track Cyclospora contamination. Technology is advancing quickly in the molecular field, and the complications encountered in previous studies may be solved if revisited. Economically, this outbreak has hurt Del Monte, demonstrated by their discontinued manufacturing of these products at this time. This may not hurt the company in the long run as they have other products, but the cost of recalling a product off the shelf can be large.